anthropological labs, and the remaining 3 days, that is Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays, were spent in blood labs. Eva, when she thinks of her childhood memory, she eventually think how her childhood was snatched away just to be a guinea pig for dubious research interest of Dr. Mangale. I just read one quote from the text. They measured our earlobes, the bridges of our nose, the size of our lips, the width, shape, and color of our eyes. They compared the shade of blue of Miriam's eyes to the blue of my eyes with a chart of eye colors. Over and over, they measured. After all these kinds of experiments, finally, Eva and Miriam were liberated from the camp in January 1945 by the Soviet Union, Soviet Army. As like every other Holocaust survivor, they too had their post-war struggles. The psychological scar of being an experimented victim haunted them really. In fact, they lost all their family members, so they find it very hard to rebuild their lives. They moved to their native village in Ports, Pennsylvania, Romania, and then they moved to Israel, where they get their education. In fact, Miriam rose to the power of registered military nurse at the Israel Army, and Eva Moses Kaur also turned as a sergeant major. After that, they got married and they settled and moved to USA. Even after going to USA, the traumatic past keep haunting Eva Moses Kaur, and that is when she realized she had to change her identity from a Holocaust survivor to a forgiveness advocate and a public speaker. I told you a little later that Miriam was injected with some poisonous shots. When Miriam was about to deliver her first baby, the doctors diagnosed that she had a severe kidney infection, which any antibiotic could not treat it. During her second pregnancy in 1963, that kidney infection grew severe, and it was that time that Eva advised her twin sister Miriam not to have babies anymore because that would be a life crisis for her. During that time, the doctors identified that Miriam's kidney remained in the size of a kidney of a 10-year-old girl. Again, she got pregnant for the third time. Her kidney completely failed, and Eva donated her left kidney for her sister Miriam to survive. I quote Eva here. She quote, "I had 2 kidneys and 1 sister, and the choice was easy." She actually wanted her sister to survive, but unfortunately, her sister Miriam died in 1993. After the death of her sister in 1993, she established a museum called Candles Museum, Children for Auschwitz Nazi Deadly Experiment Survivors. This museum was in Indiana, USA. Here I should also talk about the Nuremberg Code. Ma'am has talked enough about the Nuremberg trials. The Nuremberg Code was formulated after the doctor's trial. It is a set of 10 principles, a kind of guidelines, international guidelines for conducting any kind of human experiments. The Encyclopedia of Bioethics even stated that the directives of human experimentation began with Nuremberg Code. What this Nuremberg is all about? Nuremberg Code banned the involvement of victims without their consent. Consent of the patient was mandatory to conduct any kind of experiments over their body. Also, medical scientific because should benefit the human society. Above all, animal experimentation should be conducted before conducting a human experimentation. After liberation, Eva was extensively lecturing about Holocaust and the nature of twin experiments, etc. During this time, ZDF, a public television broadcasting company, arranged a meeting between Eva Moses Kaur and a Nazi doctor named Dr. Munich. Eva filled with nightmares. She reimagined her life as a guinea pig in the Auschwitz concentration camp on her flight to Germany to meet this doctor at his home. This happened in the same year when her sister passed away, that is in 1993. She had the worst nightmares in her life during her flight to Germany. Um, and she was expecting that she could get some details regarding the twin experiments and about Dr. Mengele. Unfortunately, this doctor, Dr. Munich, did not know any information about this twin experiment because he says that twin experiments was top secrets of Nazis. But he provided information about the operation of gas chambers. This doctor's workstation was just outside the gas chambers. As he witnessed the gas coming out and people were dying in thousands and thousands. What his duty was to sign a death certificate for many who have died in the gas chambers. And eventually that one death certificate did not contain any names of Jewish victims, but just their numbers. In 1995, Eva Mosesco requested the Dr. Munich to sign an affidavit as an historical document to provide information about the existence and operation of gas chambers. As per Eva's request, this doctor came to the ruins of gas chambers at Auschwitz and signed this affidavit. Eva desperately needed this document as the historical document against those who are denying the Holocaust. After 10 months of intense thinking, Eva came up with this idea of letter of forgiveness. She thought it would be a perfect, memorable return gift because for this Dr. Munich's willingness to agree the existence of gas chambers. She took 3 months to write this letter. She sought the help of her former English professor to correct her spelling. After 3 corrections, the letter came out very well. During that time, her professor actually wanted to imagine that Dr. Mengele was in her room and how it would be if she forgives Dr. Mengele. In that letter, she had already forgives Dr. Munich, but not Mengele. So she went to her room and imagined that Dr. Mengele was in her room, and she took a notebook and wrote 20 nasty words by referring to a dictionary and scolded him very loudly to outpour her anguish against her. And finally, she came up with the ability to forgive the Dr. Mengele, who conducted worst experiments on her body and her twin sister Miriam. After saying "I forgive you," she gets that a kind of self-power, to forgive the Dr. Mengele, famously known as Angel of Death. I just read her quote here. I had the power to forgive. No one could give me this power and no one could take it away. That made me powerful. It made me feel good to have any power over my life as a survivor. This act of forgiveness gives Eva a kind of self-healing, self-empowerment and self-liberation. She knows very well that she cannot change what had happened to her, but definitely she could change the perspective towards it to liberate herself from the pain she was carrying for more than 50 years. In 1995, at the 50th anniversary of Auschwitz liberation, Eva Mosesco publicly forgives Dr. Munich and Dr. Mengele. That sparked a significant controversy among Jewish communities, Jewish survivors, and other Holocaust survivors also. These people find this forgiveness as a kind of betrayal because they had also undergone the same kind of experiments. They had lost their beloved ones during the course of Holocaust. For them, is unimaginable. But for Eva Mosesco, it is a kind of personal choice to liberate herself from the traumatic past in her life. Thus, she signed the Declaration of Amnesty. I'll just read a few lines, the last lines from the Declaration of Amnesty. I hope, in some small way, to send the world a message of forgiveness, a message of peace, a message of hope, a message of healing. Let there be no more wars, no more experiments without informed consent. No more gas chambers, no more bombs, no more hatred, no more killing, and no more house riches. I would like to conclude my presentation with justification of my title. Um, you all must have heard this word cauldron in Shakespeare's Macbeth, which is usually associated with witches. What is a cauldron? What is a cauldron? It is a huge vessel where everything is put inside and cooked well. So, cauldron here, in my context, it represents the entire machinery of Holocaust, especially the gas chambers where the innocent Jewish victims were put together and burnt alive. The cauldron of hate represents environment of extreme violence, inhumanity, and cruelty faced by Eva Moses during the course of experiment during her lifetime in Auschwitz. What is crucible actually? Crucible is a metal with withstand high temperature that can be used to melt or test metals. Eva Moses Core is one such crucible who survived from the cauldron of heat and spread peace among other survivors. Not all survivors who survived from the cauldron of heat become a crucible of peace. Crucible of Peace here symbolizes Eva's transformative journey from being a victim of hate to a beacon of forgiveness, reconciliation, and peace. And to an extent, to an extent she forgave those who oppressed her severely in the camp. Eva's legacy continues to inspire us to read more about the nature of forgiveness, and also it highlights the importance of remembering the history to prevent further genocide or further atrocities in the future. These are the references that I have referred for this presentation. Mm, the primary text, and she had also written number of articles. There are many YouTube videos available in her own voice. Paul Wilding is one such researcher who exclusively researched on Nazi medical experimentation. I'll just put this link in the chat box. This is an animated video of Eva Moses Co's life. This is 7-minute video and it's worth watching. Uh, the second site is the original website of the Candles Museum. You will be shocked to know that the Candles Museum was burnt in 2004, even after forgiving. And it is after that incident she came up with much power to spread peace among the Holocaust survivors. And Eva actually died very recently in 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jaya Prabaa. I think I understand what you have said. It reminds me of a quote by Ray Carson. Peace is such hard work, harder than war. It takes way more effort to forgive than to kill. And I hope this imparts the message for a peaceful tomorrow for everyone. Yes, now the floor is open for questions, for discussions. I request the audience who have questions and doubts to be cleared right now.
To put it in simple terms, good and bad habits, good and bad actions or behaviors are imitations. We learn from others. And I want to tell you that, given my background of research, that Germany and England were competitors in race science. When you were talking about calipers being used to measure the skulls and the two sisters being used for experimentation, this kind of experimentation was done with Aboriginal people and in India with the different castes. So if you look at the regiment, the Gorkha regiment, as they did in Australia or the Nazis in Germany, but race science contributed a lot to the ill treatment, to the victimization of Aboriginal people, and also the hatred towards the Jews. It's a wide known fact that there was this jealousy about their intelligence. So, why this race was prospering was one of the things that ignited so much hatred towards the Jews. So, I just wanted to contextualize this in race science, which informed thinking of the 19th century. So, and one of the things that went through my mind when I was listening to Jaya Prabaa was, science and inhumanity. Science has, this is one of the uh, aspects of, apart from nuclear science and what all that nuclear science could be doing, um, race science also has contributed a lot to inhumanity. Just a little bit from my side, little contribution from my side. Thank you to all the presenters. And sorry, I just barged in with whatever was going through my mind because I was afraid that I might forget what I was trying to say. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Laura. Thank you, Angeline. And thank you, Ms. Jaya Prabhaa. All three papers were poignant, and we have so much to explore thanks to the three of you.
Yes, I would, if I would want to have something to say, I would actually encourage those who are listening to go in for some short videos or even read Night or Wiesenthal Sunflower. These are all very small books. I think this is mandatory in schools, Germany or US, to know about Holocaust. Every year I do a paper on Holocaust. The first question I ask my students is, how many of you have heard about the Holocaust? And every time no one knows. So I think, we ought to know about Holocaust, and that's why, speak about all that. I wanted to also show some videos, but I knew there will be no time and also not sure about the network. But you can just go and before you go to sleep, watch at least one or two so you know what really happened, what has even stranger, more horrifying imagination.
Thank you, Dr. Laura. Dr. Srilata, I must introduce Dr. Srilata, our patron. She came on the call. Dr. Laura, Dr. Srilata is the patron of our club, in addition to Dr. Rufus. Both of them are patrons of our club. Ma'am usually offers insights which help the students. Yes, Dr. Srilata.
Yeah, thank you. I should have joined by 6 o'clock. I was late. I was held up in some work. It's nice to be in touch with this Holocaust studies. It always inspires me. Thank you. Thank you for giving this information about the program.
Conflicting situations for promoting intercultural dialogue. Conflicting situations for promoting intercultural dialogue.
Thank you, ma'am.
Are there any PG students from Queen Mary's College? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. But it will be good. You don't have to sound very scholarly. Dr. Laura is very kind and understanding. Dr. Angeline also, Jaya Prabaa. You can compliment them on their papers. You can even text your observations or whatever you can participate in without feeling shy or embarrassed. Yes? Just pitch it.
For promoting intercultural
Just one Simon Wiesenthal Sunflower.
Conflicting situations for promoting
Already
intercultural dialogue.
Discussed by
Yes.
British University in some other, in another forum. It was, we were talking about
conflicting situations for promoting intercultural dialogue.
This is a particular
the book through Angeline.
Yeah, that she had presented, and she put us. She put the question again.
Conflicting situations
And then
for promoting
we
intercultural
start
dialogue.
thinking whether it is good to remember those bad things, and it is, and that's what I was feeling as Dr. Laura was
promoting intercultural
explaining those many things. Those very things are because children today haven't gone through these terrible times. They don't know any of how many things came, how many revolutions took place to restore human dignity, right? That nobody knows, and so we need to know them. But at the same time, we should live up, with that. It is very difficult to forgive, as those survivors had said. They did try to forgive. They cannot forget yet. Through that, through not forgetting, they were also trying to make the world a better place by just coming out there. And so it is not actually remembering bad things is not really, it's not really what bad. It is something. It does the other. It works the other way also. That is what I think. All three of you had through. Although you talked about, Post Flora gave us all the historical and other background, and the other that Jaya Prabaa's was not.